Thank you. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We are going to continue with the muscular tissue. So let me just quickly revise this part. Like you already know what muscle cells are, how do they look like, they are elongated cells and so on. And they are majorly made up of those contractile proteins. And three types that we know of: cardiac, smooth, and skeletal muscles. Functions, of course, you know quite a lot. One of the important point that we had discussed was it develops, means during the child birth, or rather during the child growth, it is developing from the mesoderm, that was the germ, one of the germ layer during the embryonic development. Three distinct structure we had named, like from the muscle cell or muscle fibers, that is sarcoplasm, and that is the cytoplasm. Endoplasmic reticulum was specifically called sarcoplasmic reticulum, and sarcolemma was the membrane, that is the outermost membrane. So these were the three terminologies specific to the muscle cell. And then of course the property that you know very well: contractibility, extensibility, elasticity, and excitability. I hope we had discussed this diagram as well. Did we? Anyone?
This one, no, I don't think so. We didn't do this.
Okay. So okay. So the most important part of a muscle is it's a bundle of something as in fibers, right? So if we call this biceps as a muscle, one type of muscle, then it is made up of several of these bundles, right? And these bundles, when you look specifically, they are actually made up of muscle fibers, or what is also called as muscle cell. So this individual strand that is coming out, that is nothing but a fiber or cell, but the elongated cell. Then and this muscle fiber is made up of different proteins, actin and myosin, and they are arranged in specific manner. So for example, this kind of half hexagonal shape, open hexagonal shape, not hexagonal but whatever gonal shape, so that is having the arrangement of actin protein in this way, and in between you have myosin protein. So that is the way it creates this dark band, and in the middle it creates light band, again dark light, dark light. So that way these muscle fiber, they have not all the muscle fiber, but some of the muscle fiber, they have these two proteins arranged within their myofibril unit, and that is what is known as the complete muscle structure. So like, just a brief here again: a muscle is made up of muscle bundle, which is again made up of muscle fiber or single muscle cell individually, and then they are grouped together or bundled together, which is composed of different proteins like actin and myosin, arranged in a specific pattern. You can forget about this deadline and so on, because that will get more and more technical. So this is just the specific arrangement of the skeletal tissue. Now otherwise also other tissues, they are arranged this manner only, but they may or may not have this particular type of protein arrangement. That is how they are differentiated, and this specific type we call it as a striation, because they show various bands. Bands is nothing but stripes, stripes is nothing but striation. So those striations or bands, they are being seen in these muscle fibers, and that is why these type of skeletal muscle, they are also called as striated, which we will see next. So that is the arrangement of these muscle cells in general. Okay, and these three types we had looked at. I will not revise this part, even if it is not done, but we'll directly jump over to the first type, that is the skeletal muscle tissue. Now within the skeletal muscle tissue, what we have, most important reason why they are called so skeletal muscle is because they are attached to skeleton. Now you know what skeleton is. this bony backbone or the parts structure of the body, that is the skeleton, and these muscles, they are attached to the skeleton. That's why they are called as skeletal tissue. They are also known as striated muscles. Now I just explained, because of the presence of alternate patterns of light and dark bands, which is ultimately because of the proteins, that is actin and myosin, and certain other proteins, and that is why they exhibit this light and dark band, and that's what looks like a striation. So these skeletal muscles, they are also called as striated muscles. Now you might wonder, why are we even talking about this striation and proteins and so on? Because these are the proteins which are responsible for contraction and relaxation of the muscles, and that will allow the free movement of the muscle, and that is why they are very, very important to study. So these are skeletal muscles or striated muscles, or they are also called as involuntary muscles, voluntary muscles. Skeletal muscles. So for example, bicep, if you want to flex and show it to someone, you can do it on your wheel, right? That's
Yeah.
of course, Ashish, you can. So
Yeah.
so that way, these muscles you can like voluntarily move. So there are three names to this, that is skeletal muscles, striated muscles, and voluntary muscles. All three names, they are for the same type of tissue. And like 40% of your body mass, it comprises of the skeletal muscle. 40% is quite huge amount that way. Like of the total body weight, let's say we like average of us is like 60 or 70 kgs. 40% of it, somewhere around 25 to 30 kg, is of skeletal muscle. And one of the important fact about this, let's say someone goes to gym and bulk up in muscles, they bulk up only on this skeletal muscle part, right? You can simply imagine that your bicep, triceps, or quadriceps getting increased in terms of the size. That is only the skeletal muscles. So you can voluntarily work on these muscles, and they can grow in the size. So that is this skeletal muscle. Now each of the skeletal muscle tissue contains myofiber, nothing but the structure that we had seen. This individual strand of the muscle cell has the myofibril like structure, which is nothing but the structurally arranged uh, actin and myosin protein. So that is the myofibril. Myo again refers to the muscle, and fibril refers to the fiber. So that way, this is the protein, specifically arranged protein fiber, that is myofiber. And the cells of these tissues, they are multinucleated. Now let me ask a question here. Can anyone tell me why a cell can be multinucleated, or why it has to be multinucleated? When one nucleus can do the work, why it needs to have many nucleus? Someone. Uday. Mr. Uday. Uday. Hello, Uday. Good night, Uday. Good morning, Uday. Are you there at all? Anything? Any response? Okay. He is not there. Rishabh, would you like to say it? Someone has raised hand. Rishabh,
Yeah, sir.
did you hear my question? No. Why a cell has to be multinucleated, Rishabh? Hello, people, wake up. Okay, Prakriti.
Yeah, sir, only.
Yeah, so maybe because at least in muscle cells, they are larger in size. So I think if they have like a larger volume, then if there are more nuclei, then it could help in taking care of the whole muscle cell if it's large in size. And
Okay. Anyone else would like to add something to this?
Yeah, sir. So since muscle tissues are long, so they can have two nucleus. So coordination and everything can be easier. Like normally, if you want to move your hand, like signal has to be sent to the whole cell through one nucleus. So that would be slow, right? So if there were two, then maybe it would happen faster.
Okay. Anyone else? Apart from this point, is there anything else? Yes, Hia.
Maybe like more ribosomes will be produced that can break the protein.
Sorry, come again.
Maybe more ribosomes will be produced if there are more nucleuses. So protein synthesis will happen faster.
Correct. So, like whatever all of you said in together. So now imagine muscle cells, they are elongated, right? And if the nucleus is at the center or any of the sides, only one single nucleus, then the time that is required to transport a protein from the nuclear, or time that is required for gene expression, that is protein formation to happen at one place and then transporting it to the other ends of the not city of the cell, it will cause lot of like time consumption. And muscles, because they are fast acting cells of the body, fast acting in the sense because they have to do lot of work as such, so that way they need to be very like active. And that is why one reason is more protein synthesis is related to more nuclei in the cell, also more mitochondria. More protein means again more ribosomes, more enzymes and so on. So more protein formation and the distribution is easier, because then the protein does not need any transportation from one corner of the cell to the other corner, right? So that way, if there are many nuclei lying around these elongated cells, they can just synthesize the proteins and they can transfer it or transport it immediately to the neighboring parts of the cell. So that way, that is one thing, protein formation. Secondly, the energy production. Now again, muscles, they are supposed to be very active cells, so they are going to need lot of energy. So the mitochondria has to be like more and more, and that way they can produce more energy. But they can only have more mitochondria if they have more nuclei, right? Because the genes ultimately will detect how many mitochondria will form and so on. So that way, if there are more nuclei, that's what is multinucleated cell is. They will have better performance in terms of the protein formation as well as the energy production, that is being self-sufficient in the energy production. So that's why these cells are multinucleated. Then, yeah, I guess the next point we already discussed many elongated nuclei. Oh yeah, this point, that is having glycogen granules. So these cells or muscle cells, they have a lot of glycogen granules. Now, whatever excess of glucose that we consume, that is stored in our body in the form of glycogen. Glycogen is nothing but if you keep adding glucose molecules in sequence, that is a glycogen, which is a polymer of glucose. And that glycogen is stored in your body. So whenever there is less of nutrition that you are intaking or taking through the food, if there is what you say, less supply of in general the glucose, then this glycogen will be broken down from these granules of the muscles to glucose, and that glucose will be utilized for the energy production. Yes, Yajnesh.
Yeah, sir. So Is glucogen stored in vacuoles, like cell vacuoles?
Sometimes in vacuoles, sometimes in the cytoplasm. Depends on what type of cell, how big vacuole, and all of those things. But usually can be vacuole, can be just cytoplasm.
So they will be floating in the cytoplasm.
Sorry.
They will be floating in the cytoplasm sometime.
No, I didn't get it. They live in protein. That's what you mean.
Oh, yeah.
No, they don't.
So, oh,
Protein is a non-living molecule. Glycogen is a non-living molecule. They can stay together, but they don't live in each other or with each other. They are just surrounding. So if it is in cytoplasm, there will be obviously many proteins and many enzymes. Glycogen can be just there, or in the vacuole structure, which are especially in case of muscles. I don't think so. There are bigger vacuoles as such, or if at all there are vacuoles, I need to check that. But I assume there are no vacuoles in muscle cells because they will just occupy the space unnecessary. Though of course vacuole has a function, but I feel that muscles may not have vacuoles as such. But yeah, let me check that. I'm not too sure about it. But yeah, in general, like in case of plant cell also, these starch granules, they are stored in vacuole as well as in the cytoplasm. So that is why I use the same analogy in case of muscle cell as well. Like glycogen, which is something similar to starch in plants, that is the polymer of glucose, can be stored in these muscle cells, either in the cytoplasm or I'm not sure elsewhere. Yeah, so that is the glycogen, which is providing additional source of energy to this muscle cell, and that is like all about your skeletal muscles. So main things that you need to remember is they are attached to skeleton. That's why skeletal tissue. They are striated. That means they have patterns of light and dark band, which is formed due to the presence of specific arrangement of the actin and myosin proteins. And of course, because of this specific arrangement, the muscle is voluntarily able to move based on contractibility or extensibility. And because they are able to, like you are able to move voluntarily, they are also called as voluntary muscles. And the rest of the structure like myofibril, muscle bundle and all of that remains same. The speciality of skeletal muscle is multinucleated because they are elongated cell, and to avoid the problem of protein transport and energy transport, there are many nuclei present within a single cell, and they have this elongated mitochondria or more mitochondria as well as the glycogen granule storage as well. Any question here in the skeletal muscle part? Okay, if not, then we will quickly cover these two not small, two other types of muscles, that is smooth muscle and the cardiac muscle. So in smooth muscle, like what we already know of is these are involuntary muscle. Again, involuntary, that means you cannot willingly move them. Right? And they are non-striated. Now again, striated means having those light and dark part. Non-striated means they will have those proteins, that is actin and myosin protein, but they will not be arranged in that light and dark band manner, right? They will be randomly arranged. So that's why they are non-striated and involuntary, and they are also smooth muscles, and they are controlled by the autonomous nervous system. This is one type of nervous system that we will see later in the same topic of nervous tissue. So that is the automatic, that is, and that is why they are involuntary. They did not move on the will, but they rather move on the basis of a nerve impulse from the brain or spinal cord, or by the hormonal regulation. These are the two ways that these smooth muscles, they can either contract or relax. Now for example, let's say you are doing a physical exercise, your adrenaline rush is very high, because of the physical activity, right? When the adrenaline is very high, the smooth muscles, they contract and relax faster because of the action of adrenaline, which is kind of an hormonal action. Or again, for an example of reflex, right? If something is very hot and you are touching it, you immediately move away your hand. That is a reflex, and that is again an example of involuntary muscle control. Yes, Yajnesh again.
So when people say muscle memory, like suppose you're playing a song on a keyboard or some piano. So some people say that they don't remember it, but just with muscle memory they do it. So what is muscle memory exactly?
So
Yeah,
muscle,
sir, even I had that doubt. Like, yeah, how does that work?
so muscle memory is actually your in combination with the nerve signals, they are associated. So you know, a specific contraction and relaxation, like muscles, they can relax to complete extent, or they can relax only to small extent. That is one way, depending on how much of the excitation of muscle has happened, that is how much action potential is generated, that is the charges, how much of that signal is being transmitted to muscle through a nerve tissue or nerve cell, and how much of the muscle is contracting or relaxing. That is nothing but a muscle memory, right? Now every time, like let's say, if you are banging on tabla, for example, right? Banging, that banging may not be the right word, but let me use it. Yeah, so if you are banging on tabla, right, then the contraction of the muscle will be different when you are just simply playing with one finger, right? So that way, the amount of signal, the amount of action potential, the amount of contraction, relaxation, all of these together, they are, when they are repeated in a pattern, right? Because we keep practicing things, whether it's a piano or tabla or anything else, because we keep practicing, it creates a pattern that is nothing but a muscle memory, and that is stored actually as a, sometimes the nervous stimuli as well, like within those memory areas. Okay, so that was the non-striated involuntary smooth muscles. Again, three names: skeletal muscles, they are striated, voluntary; smooth muscles, they are non-striated and involuntary. And I hope you have understood the meanings of the words. Otherwise, it will become a chaos later, which is striated, which is non-striated, and so on, right? So please try and logically remember it. Now, these smooth muscles, they stimulate the contractibility of digestive tract. Now, can again someone explain where and how the digestive tract contractility comes into picture? Someone. Ruchira Pratap.
Yeah, sir. Hello?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Yeah, sir.
Can you tell me where or how is this contractibility of the digestive tract is happening?
It's a muscle memory, right?
No,
Is it?
no, it's not.
Oh,
Where is the contraction happening in the digestive?
the muscles, right?
Yeah, but how, where, which muscles, which organ?
What do you mean, which organ?
Within digestive tract, that is
Yeah.
mouth till anus, there are several organs.
The intestines, right?
Ha, correct. And how does that happen? Does anyone know?
So churning happens in the stomach, no? So
Churning happens in stomach. That is again a contractibility
Yeah.
of,
Are you asking the process or how it happens?
No, I am asking where and how the contraction happens within those tissues.
Did you say peristalsis?
Yeah,
At least in the throat, the muscles squeeze to make the food go down, and in the intestine also they go like this, like they contract, relax. So which
Well,
makes
the
the
throat
food
is
go like.
voluntary, right?
Yeah,
sorry.
throat is voluntary, but
Right. But the rest of the stomach and intestine, that is involuntary. But again, does anyone know how peristalsis happens? How the food is getting moved forward or downwards? If that's appropriate to use. Okay, Yajnesh.
So basically, muscles, they will move, like there are two sides to muscles, right? And between them is the food or something. So both the muscles move in a single direction, and because of friction, the food moves.
Right. So, like in other words, these are nothing but a ring-like structures, not exactly ring-like, but you saw in this diagram, right? This is like in a ring, right? This is one band that you see, this one, and then there are neighboring bands that you can see. So, something similar. Now, this is skeletal muscle that what you are looking at, but something similar is present in the smooth muscles as well. And when the food has to be pushed forward, then one ring will contract, the other one will relax, so that way the food which was there in the contractile ring, that will be moved forward, and then it keeps on contracting, relaxing, and that way the food keeps moving very slowly. Yeah, so that is the movement of the food through the gastrointestinal tract. uh, so that is in the digestive system with the help of peristalsis. What about urinary system? Where is the contraction involved? Siddharth, are you there?
Yeah, sir.
Can you explain? Siddharth, Mr. Siddharth, are you there? Okay, Ruhan. Okay, Ruhan is also not there, I suppose. Someone else. Arjun Kashyap. Who else is there? Ahona, do you want to say? Ahona,
Yes, sir.
do you want to give an example of contractility in the urinary system? Where is it and how is it working? Yes, Yajnesh, I'll come back to you.
I don't know, sir.
Okay. Okay, anyone? Yajnesh, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. So I'm guessing like to pump it like from the kidney, the pee to the bladder, or yeah.
Not really. Actually, from kidneys, the urine just gets filtered out and it gets stored in the bladder. So that is not actually any contraction involved there as such. Here,
I'm guessing the bladder.
but how? And how? Where exactly in the bladder?
So the the sphincters at the end of at the bottom of the bladder.
Okay. Shrihita, do you want to add something?
Yeah, so the sphincter muscle, no?
Yeah, but how exactly do they work?
First,
Yeah.
how is it like how is it contracting or anything? Isn't it just like expanding so it can hold it? How is that contracting?
It is expanding, then
Yeah.
relaxing, right? We call stretches as a relaxant, right? So that means you are losing hold of it. You are letting it, just being its normal self. So when it is contraction of the sphincter, now we always assume contraction as in you're holding it, but that can be its normal arrangement of the protein, right? And that is when it is a contraction of the muscle. When you release the sphincter, so sphincter is nothing but like a gateway or a door, right? We know door can close and open. So sphincter is something similar, which is made up of a muscle mass or muscle tissue. So when the sphincters, they are contracted, they are closing and opening the urinary bladder so that the urine can be passed through the urethra. And there are various mechanisms by which this can happen. So like who said now? Ruchira, I guess. Yeah, like Ruchira said, if it is contracting, that means it might be opening in some of the places. So in some of the organs, we have different types of walls or what is called as sphincters. So depending on what type of arrangement of that sphincter is, based on that, whether it's a contraction, then it will close, or it can also open in some cases with the contraction. So that way,
Okay, sir.
it just depends based on what type it is. At the moment, we are not really going into the details of that, but just trying and understanding where the contractile motions or contractile movements they are involved in these structure. So whenever whenever someone wants to urinate, then the sphincters, they are opened so that the urine can be passed from the bladder to the through the urethra and then out of the body for excretion. So that is where, in case of urinary system, with reproductive system, what is the example of contractility? Reproductive system, where does the contraction or relaxation of the smooth muscle tissue is involved? Anyone again? Vidushi, do you want to say something?
So I'm not sure.
Okay. Nilofer,
So could you repeat the question once?
I am asking where in the reproductive systems, whether it's a male or female reproductive system, where are the contractions or relaxations involved? Like smooth muscle movement is involved.
Okay.
Not sure, but
Okay. Shaurya, no one knows. How is that possible? Snehashish,
Yeah, sir. Like contraction, like for males, at least as far as I know, for males at least, it's the erections that have contraction and relaxation. For females, I really don't know.
okay.
Like while giving birth, the uterus contracts in order to push the baby outside, right, to the vagina. That's also one example of it.
Correct. So in male as well as female. So in case of male, whenever the ejaculation happens, that is also a type of contraction. It's a sudden contraction in the at the base of the urethra, where the penis has started growing. So at the base, there is sudden contraction, and that's why the ejaculation happens. In case of females, specifically the uterine contraction, like Sneha said, that is responsible for the childbirth, or also the movement of sperms through the vagina and cervix, that is another one, or the moment of ovule, like during the menstrual cycle, on the 14th day, the ovule is released, and that ovule travels through the fallopian tube structure, which is one of the tubular structure, into the uterus later. That moment is also controlled by this smooth muscle tissues present in those organs. Also, the scrotal sacs. So, male testis, that is one of the reproductive structure in the males. These, they are hanging outside the body with the scrotal pouch-like sac, and that also has these smooth muscles, and that their contraction and relaxation based on the temperature changes and so on, that also leads to certain movements of those smooth muscles. So that is how in male and female this contractility or relaxation of the smooth muscle functions. Next one, blood vessels. Where do you think in blood vessels, and how does the contraction and relaxation happens?
Why would it happen in blood vessels?
You tell me, why would it happen?
For the oxygen exchange?
So, yeah, that is one. So, usually what happens is, whenever a particular organ needs more oxygen, that is ultimately more blood supply, that is when the blood vessels, they increase in diameter, right? And the moment they increase in diameter, like not like so much, it's hardly a millimeter or so, and that is when more blood flows through those vessels, and the blood supply is gone to particular organ. That is one way. And of course, whenever there is deposition of cholesterol, like or fatty substances on the walls of the blood vessels, which ultimately leads to your heart attack kind of condition. In technical terms, it is called as atherosclerosis. Athero is related to arteries. Sclerosis is the death of those tissues. So that is atherosclerosis, which is related to the blood vessels of the heart. And when the lot of cholesterol deposit, they lose the ability to contract and so on. So that is one of the disease or rather disorder which is related to this contraction relaxation of the blood vessels. In general, also to increase or decrease the blood pressure, this constriction of the blood vessels or relaxation of the blood vessels happens. So that is a very normal phenomenon. So that's where the blood vessels comes into picture when the smooth muscles they contract or relax. Okay. And the last one, that is airways. Of course, we all know the lungs, when they inhale air, they will expand, and when they exhale air, they will contract. So that is a very easy example of the lungs or airways. Now, just a brief about this non-striated part of the smooth muscle. The actin and myosin filaments, they are very thin and they are arranged randomly, and that's why there is no striation. So because they are randomly arranged. In the skeletal muscle part, they were specifically arranged in a very organized manner, and that is where there was a striation pattern which was observed, and hence no striation here in the smooth muscles. And just in terms of the smooth muscle cell shape, they are spindle shape with a single nucleus, while the skeletal muscle cells, they were elongated cells with multiple nucleus. Yeah, again the difference between skeletal and smooth muscle. I hope there are no questions. If at all, you can ask me. If not, then I'll move to the next part. Yes, Vidushi.
Yeah, sir, it's not about these slides, but you said we'll discuss about the test portion and stuff.
I
in the
will
class.
finish at the end.
Okay, because there are only 10 minutes left. So.
I'll be done in 5 minutes.
Cardiac muscles.
Okay, so the next and last type of muscular tissue is the cardiac muscle. These are only and only found in heart. These are involuntary again, like your smooth muscles are also involuntary. So these cardiac muscles.
Sir, wait.
Yes,
Smooth muscles aren't exactly involuntary, right?
they are involuntary. Why would you say they are not exactly involuntary?
I mean, for the erection thing, you can like it's under your control sometimes.
No, it's not.
Depends. Like I know, but sometimes it can be artificially stimulated also, right?
That is actually totally under nervous control. So
Totally under nervous control.
yeah, so
Okay.
there is an enzyme which is called as phosphodiesterase 5, right?
Okay, I can't remember the name. I'll write it down. 1 minute.
So that
The
enzyme
spelling?
phospho,
Phospho.
SPHO,
Phospho.
diester, DIESTER,
Diester. Diester.
ASE, diesterase.
Okay, diesterase. Phosphodiesterase. Okay. Got
So
it.
that is one of the enzyme which is responsible for breakdown of that phosphodiester bond. And because of that, certain chain of events happens which leads to the dilation of those blood vessels. So the blood vessels get filled up, and that is causing the erection. Yeah, it is not actually the muscles which are ultimately, of course, it is a muscle, but because of the blood vessels, the muscles they are getting erect there. Yeah,
Well, like in the morning, like when you get up, sometimes happens, right?
but that is again because of the hormonal changes,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
like again, certain hormones are being released in your body at specific time point, which is because of the circadian rhythm of the body, and that's why the morning erection happens in the individuals. Okay, like, did that clarify? Snehashish?
Yes, I clarified.
Okay, perfect. So, coming back to the cardiac muscle part, so these are involuntary and they are striated. Now, again, involuntary because heart muscles you cannot control, so they are involuntary, and striated because they have again a pattern of those actin and myosin proteins. Pattern in the sense of light band and dark band with the specific organized arrangement of those actin and myosin proteins. So that's why they are involuntary and striated. And function, again, we all know that pumping action of the heart is because of these cardiac cells or the cardiac muscle cells. These cells, they are specifically called as cardiomyocytes. Cardio because of they are related to heart, myo because they are muscle cells, and cytes is actually the cell. Myo is muscle and cytes is cell. So heart muscle cell is nothing but the cardiomyocytes. So these are the specific type which is present only in the heart, and they are single celled. Of course, all these cells are single celled. This is wrongly termed here. I don't know why I even put it there. All the cells are single celled. No, there are no cells which are double celled also. Maybe what it meant is they are present in certain layers, and that is what they are single layered and not single cell. And they are uninucleated, like your smooth muscles, they are uninucleated, and unlike your skeletal muscles, which are multinucleated. So cardiac muscles, they are uninucleated.
They're normal sized.
Yeah.
All right.
So the most important, I will take the last point after this revision. So things that you need to remember about cardiac muscle tissue is they are involuntary. You cannot control them. They are striated. They have specific arrangement of light and dark bands because of the actin and myosin proteins. Function of the cardiac cell is to allow the pumping action of the heart so that the blood can be pumped throughout the body. These cells, they are specifically called as cardiomyocytes, and they are uninucleated cells. Now, so this is the revision. Now, this last point is not part of the syllabus, but I felt it was good that I should explain it to you. So, you all know that there are cells arranged next to each other, and they will always have a common is which is kind of facing each other. That is something that is in case specifically in case of cardiomyocyte, that is called as intercalated disc, which is the side of the cells which are facing each other or joining each other, like neighboring walls, that way. Like again, bamboo or sugarcane, if you have seen, they have this ring-like structure. That is nothing but those individual blocks will be cells, and those ring-like structure will be the intercalated disc. So something of that sort, which is present in the cardiomyocyte. And these intercalated discs, they have certain structures of proteins that is called as desmosome. And because of these proteins, they allow the movement of contraction and relaxation. On Wikipedia page, you have very beautiful image of this particular structure, that is intercalated disc and desmosome. You can have a look at that, so you will understand what we are talking about. So that is the desmosome and intercalated disc, giving the contractibility like feature to this cardiomyocytes, apart from whatever proteins are being present there. So that is the cardiac muscle tissue, and this is just the diagram to show it to you how these skeletal muscles, again, you know, they are all your next to the skeleton. Cardiac muscles present in heart, smooth muscles, the example shown here is digestive tract. Also, if you look at the structural features, these both are elongated and striated, that is skeletal and cardiac. And smooth muscles, they are not striated at all, and they are involuntary. Yeah, so this is all about your muscular tissue. Now again, any question? Next class we will start with the nervous tissue, and that will be it. So this will be done maybe maximum 10 to 15 minutes.